Hello everybody, welcome back. I hope I'm audible right now, and let's just simply continue. We will be working on the same project, and hopefully all the bugs that we had earlier, we are gonna be just simply debugging them, and they are gonna be fixed very soon. So here we are. Hopefully everything's fine right now, and let's continue. So the first thing that we have to focus on, that is actually this interaction section. And in this particular section we have three important things, and that is like the first one is the pointer, not this. First one is pointer down, second one is pointer move, and third thing is pointer up. So when it comes to pointer down, that's the place where we actually select the things and all. So first of all, let's take care of this and make sure that everything's working, and later we'll move to pointer move and all. So first of all, finish editing. Ultimately, whenever we click, at that time if I click outside the text area, and if the text area actually exists, and if there is some content, text editing content, so that's gonna be saved. So ultimately this does nothing but just simply saves. If there is a text editing content, it just simply saves that. As simple as that, pretty simple. Apart from this particular thing, there is handle middle mouse pan. So whenever we click, so whenever that middle mouse is actually clicked, at that time if I actually click the middle mouse, so starting coordinates are actually set, so sets the required initial states for the middle mouse pan. That's pretty simple. Going ahead, this particular section actually returns me the start point. Not only that, it actually sets the start points, so that once we click and start moving, we know where the start point is actually. And lastly, we have a router based routing, or route based routing over here. So ultimately tool based routing. So if I actually come back to this, and over here we have pan, we have select, we have text, we have draw, and all. Coming back to this thing, pan means we are of course panning, select means shapes are gonna be selected, text, that simply means we are adding text and all. Lastly, we have default over the type is gonna be draw, that simply means apart from these things we are sort of drawing the things. Okay, we do not include erase over here because we erase the things only when we can actually, can't we? So in the default case, we have this particular section over here, drawing, and this. We could even keep one thing, just a sec. Yeah, so there can one more thing here, that is erase. So let me just simply copy it from here and probably paste it in here. So now I have to even check whether the pointer is down or not, and in this particular section I don't even need to check, because when I click down, of course the pointer is down. As for the end point, that is sort of the start point, so start point I'm gonna be just simply sending in here. And now if I click on any shape, that just simply gets deleted, and that's what I wanted, right? So we have pan, we have select, we have ultimately how many tools we have. Pan is done, select is done, rectangle, diamond, ellipse, arrow, line, draw, text including image, they are nothing but the drawing related stuff. And then lastly we have erase. So we have pan, we have select, we have text. We have a special case for text because it will just simply render the text area. Apart from this particular thing, we have eraser, and we have this default that just simply handles the drawing. So when it comes to this default, so we are just simply setting the type to draw, and preview shape is gonna be null, because of course even though we are drawing, but the type is draw, even though we are drawing, there's gonna be no preview shape as of right now, because of course we haven't started drawing yet. So that's makes sense. Okay, let's go ahead. Then we are just simply start drawing in here. So as simple as that. The important thing that we have to focus on, that is this particular section right now, that just simply handles the select and resize on pointer down and all. So let's just simply go through it. And especially in this particular file, we have three things. We have pointer down selection, pointer move selection, and pointer up selection. So once a shape is actually selected, when I click, when I move, and when the pointer up actually happens, what all we do, all the things are actually covered here. So let's actually go through them one by one. So first one is the drag threshold we have in here. It should actually be inside the constants, so better keep it inside this. And this constants actually belongs to eraser, history, image, tools. Let's keep it inside canvas as for right now. I'm just simply gonna can't type paste it. So this is the drag threshold that we have over here, and once we have it, of course I'll have to import it. So let's see, whenever I need it, I'll import it then and there. So we have this use selection actions, and inside this we have these helper functions, but they are just the helper ones. So just a sec. Yeah, now it makes sense. So we have on pointer up selection, on pointer move selection. So this bounding section should actually be probably at the top somewhere here. Main functions. Alrighty. So we have these three main functions, and the upper ones are nothing but the helper functions. We are gonna be just simply going through them. So whenever we click, so of course we are gonna be clicking on a shape and all. And as we click, we might press the shift key as well, and if we actually press the shift key, the value of this actually becomes true. Now the interesting thing actually starts from here, and these are the conditions that we have. First of all, whenever I click, I'm getting the head shape. That's pretty simple, like whether it's been actually clicked. Once I got the head shape, I'm even getting all the selected shapes. Selected shapes in the sense, if I already well, that's very less chance of getting the selected shapes in here. Because when we directly click, there could be possibility that shift is also clicked, so no doubt there can be selected shape, that's fine, but this is not the best place to keep this thing here. So what if there is already a selected shape, and when I'm clicking on that again, so the next time I'm gonna be getting the selected shape, right? So there are selected shapes, I'm gonna be getting them. Once I got them, I'll check the length. If the length is 1, in that case I know there is only one shape, and hence we are just simply just checking the type of that. If that is equals to text, that simply means now we are gonna be editing the text. So this is what this piece of code does. Now if we click shift, so at that time we have to just simply keep adding or toggling. So whenever it comes to shift plus click on a shape to add or remove it from the selection, that's what it's gonna do. And then we have clicked on empty space, so of course it's gonna be that particular shape there are two things actually. When we clicked on an empty space, at that time we either click on the area of bounds or empty space. So there are both the things. Either I can click on the empty space, or I can actually click on the area of the bounds. We'll be just simply going through this particular thing as well. Lastly, first of all, we just simply check whether there is any selected shape or not. Then we are just simply checking whether we clicked on shift, and then once we clicked on shift, then the remaining things are handled here. If we did not click on shift, then we are just simply checking whether we have any hit shape or not. That simply means when we clicked, whether we clicked on any shape or not. If there is no shape, then this particular logic is gonna run. And if there is any shape, so we have to just simply check whether whichever shape we have clicked on, that is already selected or not. If that shape is already selected, again we have to toggle the values over here if that is already selected, and if that is not already selected, so no doubt that is simply gonna be added. So the selected shape that we have, okay, just a sec, clicked inside the current selection. Of course I clicked inside the current selection. So if that's not already selected, so of course we are gonna be toggling it in here, so sort of that's gonna be selected for sure. And if that is selected and we are clicking on that, so of course the selected shape that we have in here, we are just simply sort of cloning that. Cloning in the sense we cannot assign it directly, otherwise references are gonna be the same. That is why we are sort of cloning this. And what this cloning does, this clone shape simply clones a particular object using structured clone. So if I actually come back here, So it does nothing, it just simply it is getting the shapes, it just simply loops through all the shapes, maps through them, and this simply returns the value. But that value is the structured clone. That simply means this shapes array has a lot of objects that are of course shapes inside that, and we are just simply cloning them. So that's what is actually happening over here. Once we have all the previous shapes, we are getting the bounds of them. So what is actually happening here, we clicked inside the current selection. Once we clicked inside the current selection, we got the selected shapes. And one more thing, that if I'm actually clicking on current selection, let me see. Yeah, so it doesn't really matter. Current selection, what the hell, why am I not able to move it? Okay, drag threshold is not here. But when it comes to current selection, so once we have it, because we are not clicking shift in here, so of course we cannot even toggle the values. Once selected, so they are selected unless I actually click outside. So click inside the current selection. So if that is already selected, we must be using bounds in here to check that. So let's just simply, anyway, suppose we are clicking on already selected shapes, and once we are actually clicking on them, so if just a sec, is group selection, if section blah blah greater than 1, so whenever we are clicking, whether we are clicking on only one shape or we are clicking on many shapes, if there is a group selection, then we have to get the resize handle using the group selection bound. So I'm just gonna be passing the group bounds here, and this is gonna be is group selection. So get the resize handle, we are passing is group selection in here. On the basis of this thing, what it does is group selection. So there are two types of selections. First one is the group selection, second one is actually single shape selection. So if we'll go through it, never mind. Coming back to this one, I actually took the help of AI to get some things written, and now I myself have to understand the code first. So ultimately we got the group selection in here. That simply means we are selecting many shapes at the same time. Once we are actually selecting, so we'll get the resize handle. In that resize handle will actually be returned using the bounds, and if we have the resize handle, that is great. If we don't have the resize handle, we'll start the interaction. So sort of these types of things happen. Now it's time to dig deeper into them. So when it comes to this, we have the hit shape, we have the selected shape. This much is pretty much fine. After that, if suppose I clicked on the shift and then selecting the shapes, so they should be either toggled, they should be added, or they should be removed. So coming back to this one, we check the hit shape, we got all the previous IDs, all the previous selected IDs. So there could be possibility that there are previous IDs as well. So we are first of all getting them. So it's just as simple as this. So selected shape ID is filter ID, and ID is not equals to shift.id. It does what? This particular section simply toggles the value. So suppose I clicked on the selected shape again. So whichever shape we clicked on, that is the hit shape. And if I clicked on that again, so I'm gonna be just simply removing it from there. So this just simply filters it. And if I'm clicking on that for the first time, I'm just simply adding it in here. So the shape is sort of getting added, and we have the next selected shape IDs and all. Once we have it, we are just simply saving it. Once we've saved this, once the IDs are actually saved, that simply means new shape has also been added. After that, we are cloning the shapes. What are we doing? We are passing filter shapes, next selector includes set.id. First of all, we are getting the shapes. And then we are cloning them. That's not a bad idea, because we have all the shapes, we already have the selected IDs, so using them we can just simply get all the shapes, and they are gonna be nothing but preview shapes. And once we have the preview shapes, of course after cloning, we can just simply start the interaction. Starting the interaction in the sense the type is no doubt gonna be select, and we are gonna be just simply saving the preview shapes in there. And this is how we are just simply gonna be going on. So So start select interaction means save the previous shape that you have, set the type to select, and the job is done. So if we actually come here, we are checking no doubt for the bounce first of all. With the even we have to get the bounce. So using the previous shapes, we are just simply calculating the bounce. Once that is done, we are just simply saving it all, and that is it. That's all. Coming back to this particular thing section gets over from here, and if we actually clicked on shift key, and the thing is that if we did not click on the shift key, there could be possibility that we are clicking on the outside the bounce area or inside the bounce area. So that's what we have to take care of in here. So we are again calculating the group bounce, and again if the selected shape is greater than this, only in that case, because when it comes to group bounce, the selected shape needs to be greater than 0, even if there is 1. So even if there is one selected shape, at the end of the day we are gonna be considering everything as group bounce, and if that is yeah, and if that is greater than 0, that simply means there is at least one or more than that, more shapes than that. In that case, we are just simply gonna be getting the group bounce, otherwise the value is of course gonna be null. And apart from this particular thing, once I got the group bounce, on the basis of this group bounce, I'm simply gonna check that wherever I'm clicking, whether that's in the area of those bounce or outside the area. If that is outside, we don't really need to do anything. We have to just simply sort of start the interaction or something. And if that is inside, then we have to check whether we actually clicked on some resize handle or not. So we have group bounce in here, and we have to check is point in selected shape bounce. That's the function that I'm actually running. It simply returns me a boolean, and it checks that whether the point that I clicked on that is actually inside the area of the bounce or not. If that is inside the area of the bounce, then that's great. This particular if statement is gonna run, and if that is not, that simply means we clicked outside. That is simply means we are not doing anything. So the type is gonna be selection box, and we are just simply gonna be invalidating everything in here. But in case if we actually clicked inside the current selection, that makes sense. Clicked inside the current selection bounce, selection box. So clicked inside the current bounce selection box. That should be pretty much enough. So in here what we are doing, that as we already clicked inside that simply means we have the shapes and all, and as we have the shapes, we are getting all the previous shapes, and they are nothing but the selected shapes for sure. And after that is group selection. If that is now the next thing that we have to take care of, that is if the shape is greater than 1 only, then that is a group selection, otherwise that is not a group selection. So what we are actually doing in here, we are actually passing this is group selection in here. On the basis of that thing, we are gonna be handling the resize. Okay, and excuse me. So this is a group selection. We could have done it directly, couldn't we? Selected shapes 0. So we are just simply passing one shape from here. We are passing the group bounds. We are passing the scale and these things. The question is, if I clicked and that is inside the bounds, why are we passing only one shape from here? To get the resize handle. And what is the use of this? This is mainly useful. Okay, it turns out, shouldn't I send all get resize handle? So the resize handle should be for any shape for that sake, not for the first one. So if I just simply reload it and draw this, we are not able to draw this. Let me fix this drag related issue. Okay, now it's fine. So we are actually able to move it. I think this is problematic in here. So when it comes to getting the resize handle, that resize handle should not be only for the first shape, rather I should be sending the shapes in here. So at the end of the day, shapes are gonna be sent. So we are sending the point, we are sending the shapes, and this shapes is gonna contain all the shapes. We are even passing the group bounds. And is group selection, when it comes to these shapes, it may have one value, it may have many values. So we don't even need to pass this is group selection in here. Selecting the shape is pretty much fine. So I can even cut this thing from here and stop sending it in this place. So ultimately, when we are just simply sending the selected shapes, there can be one, there can be many. Based on that, we can just simply decide. Same thing is done somewhere else as well. And what is that place? Only at one place. Okay, never mind. So get resize handle at point. So we have to get, pass the shapes, all the shapes. We even have the bounds, and now I have to check the resize handle exactly where we clicked. So first of all, we have to check whether that's only one shape or not. On the basis of that thing, we have to continue. Let's customize this a bit. First of all, we are gonna be getting the shapes. Second thing, of course, points are gonna be there, shapes are gonna be there, bounds are gonna be there. Is group selection, let's get rid of that. As for is group selection, so bounds can be null as well. Most of the time I am gonna be sending the bounds, so no need to. Okay, let's have it if it is suggesting. And if I don't have the bounds, I'm gonna be returning null from here. Okay, going ahead, is group selection. So to check whether this is a group selection or not, is group selection, that's gonna be this, pretty much fine. So we are calculating this thing inside it only. So the shape dot length is greater than 1, that simply means that is a group selection. Once that is a group selection, so there are many shapes, and what are we trying to do in here? If that is not a group selection, that simply means there is only one shape. And let's get the selected shape in here. So const selected shape, and that's gonna be shapes dot 0, or I can just have it directly in here. That is gonna be shapes of 0 dot type and shapes dot resize even when there are many shapes, and that particular thing is covered in here. But here we are just simply passing all the shapes. So when it comes to getting the resize handle, we have to get the resize handle for a single shape as well as for the bounds. So if there is a single shape, no need, I'm gonna be doing this, and it's even gonna be returned. So the problem is that this should be shapes. What's the next issue? Shapes that's actually possibly undefined. Const first shape, and that's gonna be shapes dot 0 once I have the first shape. So this first shape actually needs to be replaced. This is how it's gonna be going on. only when there is only a single shape, then this is gonna be applied. Okay, so this is what I'm doing, but the value of the first shape can actually be undefined, so there is not even first shape. So of course we have to return from here first shape. So this should be enough. If I don't have the first step, I'm gonna be returning from here, but if I do have that, in that case we are gonna check that whether that is a group selection or not. If that is not a group selection, I'm gonna be just simply running this. That simply means I'll get the resize handles of a line or an arrow. So this is how it's gonna be going on. So this returns me the handles for that, and apart from this particular thing, if that is not a group selection, so in that case this particular section is gonna run, and we have the bounds, and they are nothing but the group bounds at the end. Better to name it well in that case. So bounds are gonna be the group bounds, right? So we are getting the bounds, and once we got the bounds, we are trying to get the corner handle, and it just simply returns me the corner handler. And apart from this particular thing, we have the checks for the getting the just what size, what is that called, corner handler and side handlers, I can just simply say. So we are just simply getting them as well. So this should be fine. I don't really think there's any issue with this. So the shapes that I actually sent, that got only used in here when it comes to not selecting a particular shape, because if that is a group selection and more than one, of course you are not going to be able to you will not decide the things based on one shape, rather the bounds. That's fine, and it's better to just simply send one. That's great. So coming back to this, no issue with this as such, and I'm going to be getting the resize handle. Once I get the resize handle, if there is a resize handle, we have to start resizing. So preview shapes can contain one or many, depends. Group bounds and resize handle exactly where we clicked on. Start this. So we have type resize, we have preview shape, we have handle exactly where we actually clicked on, we have group bounds, initial group bounds, we have initial shapes as well that are just simply cloned, and create resize interaction data. It gets the preview data and resize interaction data as we move. So what this does is that it gets the preview type and initial font size, free draw line, and it returns the data. So this just simply saves the data in there. So ultimately what is happening, that this is interaction data, resize interaction data. So as soon as we start resizing, and whenever we are saving that, we are going to be saving the initial data that we need related to resize, and that's what this particular section is going to be doing. So this should be working, shouldn't it? And then we are invalidating it in here. Otherwise we are just simply returning the selection from here. So ultimately what is happening, that if there is no resize handle, that simply means you clicked just on a shape and but didn't click on any handler. So at that time you are going to be starting selection interaction, as simple as that. This seems to be fine. Now we are using it in here again, and clicked inside the current selection. When we are actually clicking inside the current selection, instead of passing just a hit shape, I have to pass the shapes, because when I clicked, so if I'm clicking somewhere, this particular section is running when we have the hit shape, because if we don't have the hit shape, this particular section covers that. But if we have the hit shape, then this particular section is gonna run. And if we actually have the hit shape, there can be many as well, right? I'm not getting this. Just a sec. Click inside the current selection. Whenever we are actually clicking inside the current selection, so at that time those are selected, and as they are selected, nothing actually gonna happen, even if we are clicking the bounce. And once that is done, we are checking whether that is a group selection or not. I don't really need to check it now anymore. So this is how it's just simply gonna be going on. I'll just simply check it right here. So just simply passing the shapes and get resize handle at point. So when it comes to click inside the current selection, so when we are clicking inside the current selection, can there be many shapes selected? That is right. So if there are many shapes selected, so instead of sending the hit shape from here, I should be sending all those shapes. That's right as well. So how about sending the preview shapes from here, and then I'll get the first value. I have the group bounce, I have the scale. I'll check exactly where I clicked. If I click on the handle, I'll resize that, otherwise I will do this. Let's see. This is what we have in here. Okay, this is sort of working. We are able to resize that. But there is a problem. We are not able to. What is not running well? Cursors are not running well, and that only happens when I move it. So we have to fix this particular part, moving part, but this is not bad either. Of course, I'm able to resize this only, but I'm not able to resize the line. That is something we still have to keep in mind. Anyway, going ahead, clicked inside the current. Let me see. When we are actually clicking inside that, it doesn't really matter, right? There can be many selected shapes, so we are just simply sending them, and at that time resize actually happens well. So we are able to resize even the line. We are not able to flip it, so that is something we still have to take care of. There are many things that are yet to be worked on, but okay, never mind. Click inside that. This is it. Resize handle. Doing this. So ultimately, click down is fine. It works great. And there is this one more thing in here. That is, if I clicked on a selected shape. Suppose the shape was already selected and I just simply clicked on that. So this particular section is gonna be running. Suppose this is already selected and I clicked on that again. So at that time this particular section runs. And what I do in here, set selected shape ID is gonna be this. If that's not already selected, so yeah, this does the job. And we are just simply setting it in here, invalidating it, pretty simple. So these are the cases in here, right? And we have to just simply handle all of them. Sort of all the cases are actually being handled. So this is fine. There's only one issue, that is when I click on a shape, that is suppose this one. So this particular unselected shape. So here we are. Wow, that's insane. As for this cursor, this is not changing, so we have to fix this. If I click it, clicked on unselected shape, bounding box, .ts. This only happens when we click on this, I mean hover over it. So we'll fix that. But yeah, we are doing this, and apart from this particular thing, okay, let it be here. Now when we click on that again, we are gonna be getting the resize handle. So CLG, this is I wanna check. So whether we are actually getting some kind of end, start, middle, bottom right, bottom, bottom left. So it turns out, yeah, we are getting the values, so that's good. It seems to be working fine the way we expected it to work. So let's just collapse this one and start working on this move selection. This is where we are going to be facing the issues. First of all, when we move, we are getting the interaction, we are getting the starting point. Of course, that's going to be there. Going ahead, we have this switch statement, and this much is only happening in here. This is the interesting stuff. If the type is actually select by default, that is in here. So what are we doing in here? Pointer reps, and is pointer down. If the pointer is down, in that case, of course, I have to break it, because that's not gonna be selected. That's right. So that's gonna be good. Then we have end x minus start x. That's pretty simple. The end is the current point that we are on. Start is the point that I actually saved. So drawing start rep. So this point was actually saved initially, and as we move it, so I'm getting my dx and dy. They are the distance from the start point, and if that is actually greater than the threshold, that simply means we started moving. And if not dragging, of course we are gonna be breaking it from here. We are using break over and over because we are inside a switch statement. Interesting. And if we are actually moving, then we will begin move interaction, because at the end of the day we are moving. That is right. But when I clicked, I can move, I can even resize. How is that being handled? If the interaction type is already resized, so this will run, otherwise this will run, depending on the case. If that is already selected, so I have only one option, that is making it move, right? And when it comes to moving, so pretty simple. We are getting the drag offsets, and drag offsets not just for only one shape, rather for all the shapes. So that is something we have to keep in mind. So as soon as I clicked somewhere, and if there are many shapes, so we have to get the drag offsets of all the shapes from that clicked point. And what we are doing over here, we are just simply looping through all the shapes, preview shapes in here. Once we have looped through them, so the drag offset is going to be what? The preview ID is gonna be here, and that preview ID will have the drag offset for that particular preview shape. So it's like we are storing the drag offsets. There's key, there's value, and the key is nothing but the ID of a particular shape, and the value is the drag offset for that particular shape. So again, point x minus preview x. So preview x is the starting point. Point x means wherever I am right now. I'm just simply gonna be subtracting them, and I'll get the overall distance. So drag offset is nothing but the current distance from the starting point, so that later we can just simply add. So suppose whenever I'm trying to draw that, so once I have the drag offset, so now whenever the pointer actually up happens, so at that time I will be able to calculate the x and y, and that is what I'm doing it. So if I later want to calculate preview x, so at that time point x, whatever point I had, and then I needed to subtract the drag offsets. That is what gonna happen. So we'll just simply make the opposite. It will go on the right side, x is gonna be on the left side, so ultimately a formula is gonna be ready. Okay, this does the job. And apart from this particular thing, begin move interaction, so we are getting the drag offset. Once we got the drag offsets for all of them, then we are just simply saving it in here. So we have the preview shapes, we have the drag offsets that actually contain the offsets for all of them. There's another way as well, that is calculating the dx and dy from the last point, and that can actually be done, but even drag offset works well, so no problem as such. And then we are just simply moving the shape from here, and it turns out to be working. Moving shape in the sense it uses these let's work on it. Are we able to move the shapes, or I need to fix this? Yeah, we are able to move them. That's great. That simply means nothing needs to be changed inside this move shape. We are just simply checking the interaction type. Once that is done, after that what do we have to do? We have to calculate the, as we move, so we have to calculate the x and y, and as said earlier, we are just simply gonna be subtracting the drag offset. That's the same formula we used back then. The only difference was that earlier I was calculating the drag offset, now I'm calculating the main x and y points coordinates. So updated shape, we are just simply looping through all that, and once we are actually looping through that, we already have the current point wherever I am right now, and as per the current point and the distance, the drag offset that I actually have, I'll be calculating this. So the current point that I have, I'll just simply subtract this, I'll get the main x and y coordinates, and that just simply keeps changing. And once that is done, we are just simply saving it back in here. Interaction, preview shapes, gonna be updated shape, because as we changed it, so the preview shapes value is definitely gonna be changed. So updated shape is gonna be there, similarly updated bounds are gonna be there, and we are just simply sort of invalidating everything. So it does the job. We are just simply doing the opposite of what we did while calculating the drag offsets back then. So great. So in this particular section, we don't really need to worry about it. Begin move interactions. On pointer move, this particular section is covered. It only happens when that is equals to select, but there could be chances that that is already equals to move. Suppose here I already set it to move, of course. So as we move it, and whenever we are just simply moving it, it just becomes equivalent to move. So the next time onwards, what the hell, control shift T. Okay, coming back to this. The next time, for the first time, this particular case will run. In the remaining time, this will run directly. We are just simply gonna be passing the end point, and we are just simply calling the move shapes, and that's pretty simple. Why is that simple? Because whenever we are, just a sec, drag offset is where, move shape. Yeah, as soon as we clicked somewhere, right, so we already got the drag offset. To get the drag offset, we have to just simply click, and as soon as I click in here in this particular section, at that time we calculated drag offset. In which section? When we actually clicked inside the selected shape area. So clicked inside the current selection box, of course. In here I must have, and if I actually click on the size handle, let's not worry about that. But if I clicked on the resize handle, at that time, do I need to calculate drag offsets? Yeah. Start selection, where are they being calculated? They are not calculated in here. They are not calculated in here either. So when I'm calculating that, if I click somewhere, so the drag option should be saved. So on pointer down, just clicking is enough. If there is no hit shape, then if there is no hit shape, there could be possibility that we actually clicked on what? If there is no hit shape, so there could be possibility this particular section. Start resize, start that. We are not doing it in here. So ultimately, drag options are set when we start moving. So by default, first of all, the case is gonna be this begin move interaction, and this is where we are just simply calculating the drag options. That's not even bad idea actually. Just a sec. Whenever we start moving, so as we start moving, so this particular event will get triggered, and as this get triggered, so the case is gonna be select initially. So that particular point is gonna be drag option. So begin move interaction actually saves the value of drag options. Should we save it when clicking or when we moving? Drag options. Okay, we have this, we are dragging, then we are saving the value of the drag options. To save the value of the drag options, we have to just simply have the current point in minus preview shape minus current point, that is okay, point minus preview, that makes sense. So we got the drag point, and the value of this drag point will not change once done. So done. So okay, let it be here, no problem as such with this. So yeah, when we start moving at the time, we just simply set the value of the drag option, and when we need to render it, mainly when we need to invalidate at that time, those drag offsets are gonna be used. Okay, so far so good. And whenever they are gonna be called, drag offset is already gonna be there. Lastly, there can be possibility that the type is actually selection box. When we let that happen, when we are just simply clicking on empty space, so the type is that. So whatever interaction I have, okay, and the end point I'm gonna be keeping in here. Okay, and we are gonna be invalidating. In case of draw and none, I'm not really doing anything. So when I just simply click on the empty space, so at that time what am I doing? I'm just simply saving the interaction, and if that is actually equals to selection box, so that simply means I clicked in the empty space, and when I click in the empty space, then what actually happens in that particular case? If I'm clicking on the empty space, that simply means the type is when I clicked inside the shape, clicked on the empty shape, is already selected. If the shape is already selected, when we click, if that's not selected, when we click on that, that's fine. But if I actually click on empty space, that simply means I did not click shift, that is I don't even have the hit shape. So this section is gonna run even when I click on the empty space. Yeah, this section is gonna run, and when this particular section is running, there is no hit shape. But now the question is, even if there is no hit shape, right, I'm gonna check whether I'm actually clicking inside that or not. If I'm not, here I'm setting the selection box, clicked on the outside. Hope to get some suggestions here. The current selection, start a new selection box. Yeah, current bound selection box, current selection, call it selection. Yeah, that's fine. Current selection box. That makes sense as well. So this is where it's actually being handled. So whenever we are clicking on empty space, that's the type is selection box, and when we start moving in there, so we are already saving the value of it. So pointer this, the value is actually getting saved in here. What is the benefit of it? We can invalidate it. Now the good question is, when you are actually invalidating, and if the type is selection box, you have to render something like you have to just simply show some kind of rectangle there. So let's see how we are actually handling this part. So when it comes to, because we have to move one by one, right? If that is equals to draw, so there's gonna be when drawing, so we are already showing the preview shape. If that is equals to none, just simply take this and all. Coming back to this render shape, so renderer, this particular section in here, we have render scene and we have render overlay. The question is, if that is equals to selection box, we have to just render the overlay. Coming back to this, interesting. So we have the context. Even I have to fix this particular part. We have to get the customized context. We'll see that. Viewport helpers, that's fine. Preview shapes, let's get rid of this. Preview shapes. It covers the eraser section, that's fine as well. Eraser trail. Selection. Was I looking for this one? Let's see. Selection simply renders the selection. So if well, this is not even the one I'm looking for, if I'm not wrong. Selection shapes. So is a transform interaction. It turns out that I'll have to handle it. What do I need to handle? Render overlay is fine. Of course, everything starts from here. I got the context, I got the interaction, I got all the data that I needed. Cleared the interaction, saved it, started doing this. Is the transform interaction? That simply means, am I moving? Am I resizing? Am I rotating? So in that case, it's gonna actually happen. So in that case, if that is equals to transform interaction, so what we are doing in here, the preview shapes are gonna be equals to, because even if we are rendering, of course we are rendering, so interaction dot type, if that is equals to draw, if we are actually drawing something, and at that time of course I have to show the preview only. So in that case, interaction dot preview shape, that particular shape is gonna be drawn. If that actually exists, in that case it's gonna be this, or it's gonna be this only when we are drawing. First of all, this. If we are not drawing, we'll check is it transform interaction at interaction. That simply means, are we just simply doing these things? And if we are doing this, then interaction, the preview shape is actually, preview shapes are gonna be interaction dot preview shapes, all the ones. But one more case, and it's gonna be insane. And what is that? That is I have to check whether I'd rather check it in here in the reaction dot type, if that's triple equals to selection box in this particular case. And if that is so, then what do I need to do if that is actually equals to selection box? Do we have any preview shape? I'll have to check. To where is that pointer? Stay. Selection box. We just have the start point and we have the end point. We do not really have any preview shape for that sake. So we have to create a shape. As simple as that. Do we have create shape? What it takes? It takes the tool. Tool is gonna be rectangle first of all. Start point, end point, and the points. Shouldn't that be optional? Point should be optional. Type is gonna be rectangle, and x is gonna be start point dot x and end point dot x, whichever is minimum. And I think that's what I wanted. In the remaining case, I have to just simply this. I made it worse. This is insane, but okay, we'll see that. But what is the problem? That is rectangle. It just simply gets them, creates a shape and returns that. So when it comes to creating a rectangle shape, it actually normalizes this. So we do not need to normalize it in here. In that case, the shape is already going to be normalized. So the type is gonna be rectangle, x is gonna be the start point that I had. So start point, it turns out I have to get interaction dot start point dot x, just like this. Interaction dot start point dot y. As for the width, absolute value of what? The end point minus start point. This is gonna be absolute value. And when it comes to creating a shape, we don't really need to pass these things back. What is the next thing? We have to pass this, and we have to pass the end point. Points are gonna be null, and that's what I want. What the hell? What is this doing? Let's go with the solution. Preview shape.length. Create shape, and there can be only one shape in that particular case. So a shape is gonna be created by preview shapes. Do I need to do it in here? Not really. I can do one thing. Logic wise it is not wrong, but I don't want it in here. This much is fine as of right now. If we are moving and all, I have to check this thing separately in here. Const. What kind of selection is this? What to name when we start selecting while dragging? Marquee select drawing box. Marquee select. Otherwise, no. Now there's gonna be one thing in here, that is if marquee select. Forget about moving, forget about the shapes and all, everything. Nothing really matters when we start moving, right? So I'm gonna be having this here. If marquee select. Will it do something? It won't. Thank you. Marquee selected. Well, I don't want these things. First of all, it should be in the marquee select. If the selection bar is, then I have the marquee select. I'm gonna be getting the start point and the end point. And once I got these values, I actually need to create a shape, and then once the shape is actually created, I need to render it. Rendering will just simply render it, not it. Const selection. And that's gonna be create shape. We start with this. Now if I have marquee selection, in that case I have to render it. So hopefully I'm gonna get some suggestion. Okay, I'm gonna be rendering the overlay for sure. I'm just simply gonna render it directly. Render shapes, this should be enough for that as well. When it comes to rendering the shapes, so I have to pass the shapes, all these things. That's interesting. So this should be render selection or render marquee selection, and I'm gonna be passing this. The only thing is that now I have to create this so that I can render it. Right. So let's go to draw. We have render shapes selection. We are bounds, line selection. Bounds are gonna be there. I'm gonna have one more, and that's gonna be marquee selection.ts. Export default function draw marquee selection. It's gonna just simply get some values, and those values are gonna be what CTX did this. So let me just simply have them in here. CTX is gonna be HTML context. Marquee selection, that's gonna be, that's fine. Scale is gonna be number. Okay, coming back to this, we don't really need to pass. Okay, that's fine. Let's get it in here. No suggestions. Great. Export default. Never mind, let's just simply start working on this. So if I don't have that, of course I have to return. Let's see what all suggestions we are gonna be getting here. And if I have that, using the context, we have to just simply draw. So from what we are gonna be getting the start point and all. And once we got the start point, we have to get the the first part is wrong in here. We have the start point. That is not wrong, that is right. We have to normalize this. Correct is gonna be normalize. Now where do we get that normalize rect? Okay, that's here. So normalize rect, right? normalize rect. It takes the starting point, it takes the end point. Start point and end points are gonna be passed. I got the normalized rect. Once I have normalized rect, then I can simply continue from here on. So ctx.save, that's fine. Give me some suggestions, otherwise I'm gonna be just simply copying and pasting this stuff as well. Let's do one thing. We have to draw a rectangle, right? In that case, let's just simply keep it here, and this rect actually returns me all of this. That simply means ctx.save, and this should be set line dash. Not sure whether this is gonna work, but okay, let's see. But all we are gonna be getting all types of suggestions and all. Let's see, restore it. I'm not sure what I did here. Just got the suggestions. Let's go through them. So ctx line dash. So this line dash method does what? I'm using it for the first time. Can was line dash. So when we are setting a line, if we call it at the top, there's gonna be the line. So this is used for line dashing, and there can be different types of lines. Line dash, the top one, line dash 1 10 by 10. Got it. And what it is doing that 4 by scale and this. So the line dash is actually gonna be dependent on the scale. On the basis of that thing, it is always gonna be remain the same. That's fine. ctx.line width is gonna be 1, ctx white, and stroke is gonna be rect x, rect y. This seems to be fine. Coming back to this thing, draw marquee selection. Now the marquee selection that I actually have, shape is not assignable to type start point and this marquee. When we are creating the shape, we don't even need to create the shape anyway. That's not needed. So in that case, come on. We are normalizing it in here. That's not really a good way. So the start point and end point that actually pass, they are gonna be used. I can simply get rid of. We are already sort of destructuring it in here, so we don't need to do it even further. And as for the rect, we are not going to be using rect in here, so we need to have the we will create a shape. Marquee selection, and this marquee selection have what? It will have a start point, it will have endpoint. Just a sec. So it will have a start point, it will have the end point. That's gonna be marquee selection. So marquee select. Type can be selection box, can't be. We already have marquee select, and apart from this particular thing, we have to create a shape. I'll have to have this logic there. What all it takes? It takes the tool name. Tool. What's gonna be the tool? That's gonna be selection box. Start point. Alrighty, so we have this. What is the problem? It takes tool type, that's problematic. Create rectangle shape, right? So it actually does this, get rid of it. And how about keeping it in here? And ID, should the selection box have the ID? Not really, so that's not needed. Type is gonna be selection box, normalized rectangle included here. That is it, but I don't have these values. So once I have marquee selection, shape, or selection is gonna be enough. I'm simply passing it. So x, y, width, height, and the type. So marquee selection will have first of all type. That makes sense, return type of type. So the type is gonna be selection box, and this is hard coded, so this can only be used for that. And once that is done, if I don't have marquee selection, then do this. If I do have that, in that case I would like to have x, y, width and height like this. Hence this can be removed, and this can be removed as well. This seems to be alright, doesn't it? That type is gonna be as constant, so that's gonna be sort of the type as well. Now I should not have any problem. And if I'm actually rendering the marquee selection, and if this particular if statement is actually running, shouldn't I return? Here we are. This is what we wanted, right? The logic wise we have to make a few changes in here, but this is not really bad. We are able to draw this marquee selection, and apart from this particular thing, once we are actually able to draw this, we are just simply doing this, nothing else. See, even when I did not do it, wow, it was still working. Interesting. Good to know that. Never knew that it was already implemented. So this is just the, now I should have the effect at once, so we can just simply figure it out at any time. But good to know that it is sort of working, and that simply means if they are being selected, so whenever we move over them and the point is down, they are just simply selected. Good stuff. It is not bad, right? It is fairly good. And again, right now we are mainly focusing on the features part. Later we will be focusing on what styling part and all, so let's not worry about that. And this is the eraser that I have. Tring, tring, tring. Harja. This one is, what's wrong with this? Why am I not able to delete this? Probably there is some kind of bug in here. I am able to delete that, but for some reason I am not able to delete this. Yeah, so once you are actually zooming in, you need to go back to, oh, this is a bug that I still have to fix, because when it comes to big shapes, it doesn't matter how much I zoom, trying that it was just like that. Okay, we'll see that. Again a to do. Fix the erase, implement undo redo, we have done that. Add a multiple selection, done that. The resign shape should always be at the top. I don't know whether I've done that or not, we'll see that. Okay, this particular section is done, but it's not done yet completely. We have sort of covered this section and it is selected. We are able to, first of all, this move resize is sort of working, but if there are many shapes, And now if I start resizing them, that sort of works as well. But if there is a line, then it does not work. Yeah, that just simply the line remains there. This is the line. So we have to fix this part. So all the lines, they just okay. Even this reload it. It works at this level, but if we zoom in or zoom out, it does not work at all. The selection box that we actually have in here, first of all, even this is not working right yet. That is understandable why it's not working the way I want it to work. The way we are calling this render, yeah. Render scene, right? Render overlay. We are calling this marquee select in here. This should be fine. Okay, I was returning from there. That was the problematic thing. And the next thing is that even if I touch that a little bit, that gets selected. As for right now, this is fine, but later we have to make sure that it only gets selected when that is actually completely wrapped up. So it's just about hitting right now. So somehow if we hit that, that gets selected. And that's not even bad logic, like anyhow if we just simply hit the shape, even a little bit, that will be selected. Okay, that's sort of cool as well. The next thing that we have to focus on, that is gonna be the resizing part, because as of right now we are actually able to at least move anything here and there easily, and it is not even dragging, mainly because we are using two canvases. One is handling the, suppose this is here, right? I selected these two. Now only these two are gonna be rendering. This will always stay there. So even if there are 10,000 of previous what is called shapes, they will not render, rather this will only render. So in this way what happens, it gets quite short, like the drawing becomes softer. Your browser doesn't lag because it doesn't have to handle a lot of re-rendering. So that is why it is quite cool. Earlier it wasn't this, it wasn't working this well. Never mind. The next thing is that we have to fix the resizing, and when it comes to resizing, interesting, I never expected that this was implemented as well. We have to, we are not flipping it, we have to even flip it. So that is something we have to focus on. That's a lot, bro. The most important thing is that I have to fix the logic of fix so even this is something that we have to fix on. Again, most of the time what happens, that my mind actually goes complete blank. I mean it completely goes blank. and then I don't get anything. At that time I do get the help of AI. What's the loss? I mean, as long as you are able to understand, that's enough. But as for the features wise, we are gonna be implementing all the features of that Excalidraw website and all. So let's see how long it's gonna be taking. And even as we are just simply selecting it, so the colors of these shapes, they should be changing, right? They should have some sort of background around them. Even there is something we have to add. So turns out to be a lot to handle, but okay, we'll be going through it. Gonna take some break. It's been 1 hour 26 minutes. I'll have my breakfast. After that I'll be back and then keep working on this. Until then, bye bye.